If you have ever been the one who kept this family standing, quietly, without applause, without anyone even knowing, and they still called you the selfish one, I need you to stay with me right now. If you've ever poured everything you had into people who never once said thank you, hit that like button and subscribe right now, because what happened at that bank branch on a Tuesday morning in October is something I will never forget for the rest of my life. My name is Seraphina Mills. For 8 years I was the family disappointment, the cold one, the selfish daughter who never came home, never helped, never cared. The one my mother, Glenda Mills, would sigh about at church, shaking her head slowly while the other women patted her hand in sympathy. The one my father, Isaac Mills, stopped mentioning at family gatherings altogether, as if erasing my name from conversation was easier than defending me. And my brother Ephraim? He was the golden one. Ephraim Mills, with his wide smile and his easy promises, married to Stephonia, an events coordinator with a sharp tongue and sharper opinions. They had 3 children, Wyatt 11, Luna 8, and baby Clovis barely 2. They lived in a 4-bedroom colonial in the same suburb where we grew up, just 3 streets from our parents' home. Close enough that Mom could walk over for Sunday dinners. Close enough that Ephraim's truck was always visible in the driveway when the neighbors walked past. And yet, somehow, I was the selfish one. Let me tell you what selfish actually looked like in our family. I was 24 when I left Harlow County for the city. I'd earned a full scholarship to study accounting, graduated with honors, and landed a position at Turlow and Brock Financial Services, one of the most respected mid-size firms in the state. By the time I was 28, I was a senior accounts manager earning $148,000 annually, plus quarterly performance bonuses. I lived alone in a modest 1-bedroom apartment in the financial district. No car payments I couldn't afford. No credit card debt. Just me, my discipline, and the career I'd built from scratch with no family safety net. I never asked my parents for a single dollar after I left for university. Not once. Seraphina at her kitchen window with coffee, looking at the city skyline. She describes her life without apology. The career she built, the silence she learned to live inside, the once-a-month calls to her parents that always left her feeling slightly erased. Internal monologue establishes her as someone who is not bitter, just clear-eyed and tired. She describes the drive back from her parents' house after dinners, 2 hours of highway, hands on the wheel, quietly cataloging what was said and what was left unsaid. Brief, vivid description of the Bonner household. Not a cruel home, just one with a clear favorite. Emmett was louder. Emmett needed more. Seraphina was capable, so she was expected to manage herself. The emotional message she received. Capable people don't need praise. Praise is for people who are trying. Concrete memory. Seraphina's high school graduation. Her academic award. Harlan clapped. Lydia smiled. Then within 10 minutes the conversation shifted to Emmett's football camp. A typical Sunday dinner. Emmett and Clara arrive with Rufus and Maybelle, the house suddenly full and bright. Lydia beams. Harlan asks about Emmett's sales numbers. Lydia to Seraphina. You look tired, Seraphina. Are you eating properly up there? Seraphina. I'm fine, Mom. Work's been busy. Lydia. Emmett finds time to visit. He has 2 children and a full schedule and he still comes home. Clara, pouring herself tea. Seraphina, have you thought about moving back? Property's cheaper out here. It seems like a waste, all that money going to city rent. Seraphina. I like where I am. Clara with a small smile. Of course you do. Seraphina notes that no one at this table knows that the house they are sitting in, the one with the good curtains and the new storm door, stays in the family because of her. She does not say this. She eats her dinner and helps clear the plates. Harlan's back injury during a factory incident. The medical bills. The early retirement he wasn't ready for. The mortgage falling 2 months behind. His voice on the phone quiet and ashamed. The moment Seraphina set up the automatic payment. No drama. No announcement. Just a decision made in her apartment at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday. And a transfer confirmation number saved in a folder on her laptop. She explains why she didn't tell them. She wasn't performing selflessness. She wanted to love them without conditions, and she wanted, in some quiet corner of her heart, to see whether love flowed back the same way when no one was keeping score. A montage of moments across years. The word selfish dropped at various angles, Never quite direct, always deniable. Lydia sighing to a neighbor on the phone. Harlan saying, "I wish you were closer, Seraphina. Your brother checks on us." Clara's comment at Christmas 2 years prior. Emmett carries this family. Someone has to. Seraphina's response always, "Nothing visible." On the inside. She would go home, open her banking app, confirm the payment had gone through and go to bed. Seraphina standing at her apartment window again. Evening this time. The city below. The folder on her desk, 7 years of statements. She hasn't opened it in months. She doesn't need to. She knows exactly what's in it. For 7 years I told myself the truth would come out on its own. That patience was its own kind of answer. I was wrong. Some truths need a hand. The 4-bedroom house in a suburb 40 minutes from their parents. New guttering. A basketball hoop in the driveway. A truck with a small dent in the rear bumper that's been there for 8 months. From outside, the house reads as comfortable and earned. Inside, behind the renovated kitchen and the new media room, the credit card statements tell a different story. Seraphina has never been inside Emmett's house without noticing something new. Something that doesn't quite add up against what she knows his salary covers. Emmett in full golden child performance. The warm handshake for Harlan. The bouquet for Lydia. The way he throws an arm around Seraphina when he arrives, loud and friendly, as if they are close. She does not pull away. She just notes the weight of the arm and says nothing. "Dad, that door hinge is still sticking. I'll fix it before I leave, I brought tools." Harlan lighting up. "I knew you'd say that. I told your mother. Emmett will handle it." Seraphina, the hinge has been sticking for 3 months. She offered to call a handyman and pay for it in July. Lydia said, "Let's wait and see if Emmett comes by." He hadn't. Until now, with an audience. She lays it out calmly for the viewer. She is a financial analyst. Numbers are her language. She has never pried into Emmett's accounts. She doesn't need to. She can read a lifestyle like a balance sheet. The truck payment. The private school deposit for Rufus that Emmett mentioned once and never mentioned again. The Hawaii trip in 2021 that Clara posted on social media. The kitchen renovation that Emmett said was financed by a really good quarter. At $68,000 a year, there are no quarters good enough for all of that. She is not judging him for wanting a good life. She is noting as a professional that something does not add up, and that when numbers don't add up, there is always a reason. 3 months before the main confrontation, Seraphina is on the phone with her parents' insurance provider resolving a query. The agent mentions a property reference number she doesn't recognize. She asks for clarification. The agent, confused, reads back a second lien listed against the Bonner home. A home equity line of credit opened in 2019. Seraphina writes down the reference number. She thanks the agent. She hangs up. She opens her laptop. She does not panic. She is an analyst. She pulls the thread slowly. Seraphina calls Harlan that evening. Seraphina. "Dad, did you and Mom ever take out a home equity loan?" Harlan after a pause. "No. Why? Is something wrong with the account?" Seraphina. "I'm sure it's nothing. I'll look into it." She does not tell him what she suspects. Not yet. Over 3 weeks, using her professional access to financial records and a formal request to the bank, she pieces together the full picture. 2 equity loans. 2019 and 2021. Her father's name on both applications. His social security number. His employment history, listed as active, which it was not. He had been retired since 2016. The phone number used for the identity verification on both applications. Registered to Emmett Bonner. The recipient account. A joint savings account in the names of Emmett and Clara McGraw. Total extracted. $157,000. She closes the laptop. Sits in the dark of her apartment for a while. Then she makes 2 calls. The first is to Detective Clyde Haskins at the County Financial Crimes Unit. The second is to Pearl Voss at First Regional Bank, where her parents have held their mortgage for 22 years. Seraphina to Leona Turlo, her mentor, at the office the next morning. "I need to take 3 personal days." Leona, looking at her over reading glasses. "Is everything all right?" Seraphina. "It will be." Seraphina at her desk, late evening, the city quiet outside. A folder open in front of her. The equity loan documentation beside her 7 years of payment records. 2 different stories about the same house. One told in silence. One told in theft. Emmett had spent years performing the role of the devoted son. What he hadn't realized is that performances leave traces. And I had been trained my entire career to find exactly those kinds of traces. During the shutdown period, Seraphina's company moved to reduce salaries for 6 months. She absorbed the cut without saying a word to anyone. She adjusted her own living expenses. No new clothing, no travel, no restaurant meals, and kept the mortgage payment going without interruption. Meanwhile, that same year, Emmett called her to brag about a new outdoor deck he and Clara had installed. "Best investment we've made," he said. "Adds real value to the property." She said, "That sounds great, Emmett." And she meant it to sound neutral. She was very good at neutral. Seraphina drove home for Lydia's 62nd birthday. She brought a gift. A cashmere cardigan in the exact shade of blue Lydia had admired in a shop window once, 2 years before, during a walk they had taken together. She remembered because she wrote it down. Lydia opened it, smiled, said, "Oh, that's lovely, dear." Then Clara's gift was unveiled. A framed photo collage of Emmett's family with Lydia and Harlan across the years. Lydia pressed it to her chest and cried. Seraphina does not begrudge her mother the tears. She begrudges the way Lydia looked at Emmett afterward. The way a person looks at someone who has given them the truest version of themselves. She had given Lydia a cardigan in the right shade of blue. It was a small, precise act of love. No one noticed that kind of love. It didn't photograph well. Harlan, walking Seraphina to her car at the end of the evening. "Harlan, thank you for coming, sweetheart. It means a lot to your mother." Seraphina, "Of course, Dad." Harlan, after a pause, "You know she doesn't mean anything by it. The comparison thing. She just worries about Emmett more." Seraphina, "I know. Harlan, you've always been the strong one. We knew you'd be fine." She drives home thinking about that word. Fine. How it is used by families to release themselves from the obligation of caring. You are fine so we don't have to look. You are fine so our attention can go elsewhere. You are fine and being fine requires nothing from us. She wonders on the highway at midnight what it would have felt like to be the one they worried about for once. Seraphina's only real conversation about any of this, a Sunday afternoon with Deborah, the one person who knows the payments exist. Deborah. "Sarah, you have to tell them. What are you waiting for?" Seraphina, "I don't want them to thank me because they have to." Deborah, "And if they never find out?" Seraphina, after a long pause, "Then I'll know." "That's enough." Deborah quietly, "Is it?" Seraphina doesn't answer. She looks out Deborah's window at the street below. A long beat of honesty she's not ready for yet. Christmas 2022. Clara's comment that year, delivered lightly over mulled cider. "Emmett carries this family. I think Harlan and Lydia would be lost without him." Lydia, nodding without thinking. "He really would do anything for us." No one turned to Seraphina. No one thought to. This is the moment she describes as the beginning of the end of her patience. Not rage. Not a decision. Just a quiet recognition, sitting in her parents' living room beneath the Christmas lights, that she could not keep doing this forever. That at some point the truth would need to be something more than a private fact she carried alone. Seraphina, at her apartment that New Year's Eve, opening the folder for the first time in 2 years. Reading back through the statements. Running the total. $231,580. She sits with that number for a long time. She is not angry at the number. She made every payment with open eyes. What she is beginning to feel slowly like a tide is that the people she was protecting deserve to know the truth. All of it. Not just the payments. All of it. She closes the folder. She pours herself a glass of water. She goes to bed. New Year's morning. Seraphina at her window again, coffee in hand. The city quiet. She speaks to the camera directly for the first time in this chapter, breaking the internal monologue. People ask me why I didn't say anything for 7 years. And I think the honest answer is I was hoping I wouldn't have to. I was hoping they'd see me. I was wrong. And once I finally accepted that, everything that came next became very simple. Silence has a price. I've been paying it for a long time. I was done. Harlan calls Seraphina on a Tuesday morning. His voice has the particular flatness it gets when he is managing difficult news. Emmett's company has announced redundancies. He is out. Harlan frames it with enormous gentleness toward Emmett. It's not his fault, the whole sector is struggling, and with the implicit assumption that the family will rally around him. Seraphina notes that when her own firm restructured in 2020, and she took a salary cut for 6 months, she mentioned it to her parents once and they moved the conversation on within 2 minutes. She does not say this to Harlan. She says, "I'm sorry to hear that, Dad. I hope he lands something soon." 3 weeks after Emmett's redundancy, the dinner is a performance of normalcy that doesn't quite hold. Clara is tight-lipped and overdressed. Emmett sits with the careful stillness of someone managing something he doesn't want to show. Rufus and Maybelle sense the tension and stay unusually quiet. Seraphina arrives knowing what is coming. She has made peace with it. She brought the folder in her bag. After the meal, Emmett asks to speak. Lydia and Harlan nod as if they had been briefed. "Seraphina, I'm going to be straight with you. Things are tight right now. We need the family to come together." Seraphina: "What does that mean, Emmett?" Clara: "It means we need financial support. $4,000 a month while Emmett looks for work." Seraphina: "I don't have $4,000 a month available." Emmett, his voice patient in the way that means he thinks she is being difficult: "You earn $150,000 a year and you live by yourself. Where does it go?" Seraphina: "That's my business." Lydia, her voice carrying the full weight of the disappointment she has been shaping for years: "Seraphina, your brother needs help. This is what family does." Seraphina: "I understand that, Mom." Lydia: "Then why are you making this so hard? You have never once helped this family. Not once. Not in all these years." The table goes quiet. Harlan does not contradict her. Clara calmly setting down her fork: "I'll be honest. We've all seen how you live. The apartment, the travel, the career. You've had everything you wanted and you've never once thought about anyone but yourself." Seraphina: Clara, I'm just saying what everyone is thinking." Seraphina looks around the table. Her father's eyes are on his hands. Her mother is nodding. Emmett has the expression of a man who is letting others do what he planned to do himself. She is very calm. She has been preparing for this exact moment for 6 weeks. She places the folder on the table. Does not open it yet. "Before we go any further, I want to make sure we're all working from the same information." Harlan: "Seraphina, what is that?" Seraphina: 7 years of bank statements. Do you want me to start from the beginning? The table goes still in a completely different way. She opens the folder, places the first document on the table, the transfer from October 2016, clearing the mortgage arrears. Her mother's handwriting was still visible on the sticky note she had attached at the time. October 2016 mortgage rescued. She had meant it as a private record. Now it is evidence. She places the second page. And the third. She does not rush. She is measured, deliberate, and completely composed. She describes the room as it falls silent. The way Clara's expression moves from contempt to confusion. The way Emmett's stillness changes character, from controlled to frozen. Seraphina's hands steady on the table. The pages arranged in front of her. Her parents' faces beginning to understand something enormous and irreversible. She hasn't even gotten to the equity loans yet. They asked me where my money went. I was about to show them. Every cent. Every month. Every year they called me selfish while I kept the lights on in a house I no longer lived in. Seraphina continues placing pages. She reads the numbers aloud without drama, the way an accountant reads a balance sheet. Mortgage payments. $1,820 a month. 84 months. That's $152,880. Property taxes. $5,800 a year. 7 years. $40,600. Insurance. $1,400 a year. 7 years. $9,800. Roof replacement 2018. $14,500. Plumbing 2020. $6,300. HVAC 2022. $7,500. Total. $231,580. Not once. That's what not once looks like. Lydia, barely above a whisper. Why didn't you tell us? Seraphina. Because I wanted to know whether you'd value me without knowing. You didn't. Harlan has both hands pressed to his mouth. He is looking at the pages the way a person looks at something they cannot yet understand. Emmett, his voice thin and strained. Seraphina, you should have said something. We didn't know, Seraphina. I know you didn't. That's the point. But we're not done. She places a different document on the table. Heavier paper. An official bank header. Dad, did you ever authorize a home equity line of credit against this house? Harlan looks at the document. No. What is this? Someone took out 2 home equity loans using your identity. One in 2019 for $68,000. One in 2021 for $89,000. Total. $157,000. The money was transferred to an account in the name of Emmett and Clara McGraw. Clara stands up. That's not Emmett, what is she? Emmett very quietly. Sit down, Clara. Clara. Emmett. Emmett. Sit. Down. Harlan turns to look at his son. A long slow turn. The kind that takes everything. Seraphina had let them in through the back door 40 minutes earlier. They had been waiting in the kitchen. Pearl Voss walks in first. She has been the Bonner family's bank manager for 18 years. She knows Harlan's handwriting. She knows the history of the account. She looks at the table, the papers, the faces, and she does not hesitate. Pearl Voss to Harlan. Mr. Bonner, I want to confirm directly. You did not authorize any home equity loans in 2019 or 2021. Harlan. I did not. I didn't even know they existed. Pearl. That confirms what our fraud investigation found. The applications were submitted digitally, using your personal information, from a device registered to this address. She looks at Emmett. Detective Haskins steps forward. Detective Haskins. Emmett Bonner. The IP address on both loan applications traces to your home network. The verification calls were made from a number registered in your name. The funds were deposited into a joint account in your name. Emmett. I can explain, Detective Haskins. You'll have the opportunity to do that. Right now, I'm placing you under arrest for identity theft and financial fraud against Harlan and Lydia Bonner. Emmett does not fight. He looks at Seraphina once across the table, and she holds his gaze without looking away. There is no triumph in her expression. There is only the quiet steadiness of someone who has already processed this weeks ago, alone in her apartment. Clara's crying. Rufus and Maybelle are in the next room. Maybelle is asking why there are strangers in the house. No one answers her. Internal voice. Seraphina says she had imagined this moment many times over the previous 6 weeks. She thought she might feel something fierce and bright. Instead, she feels something quieter. The particular piece of a thing that needed to happen finally happening. The house when they've gone. Harlan at the table, both hands around a cold cup of tea, staring at the paper still spread in front of him. Lydia standing at the window with her back to the room. Lydia without turning around. You set up your own brother. Seraphina. Emmett stole from you. From Dad. Using Dad's name. I documented it and I reported it. That's not setting someone up. That's telling the truth. Lydia a long pause. We didn't know. Seraphina. I know you didn't. But you also didn't ask. About any of it. You spent 7 years deciding what kind of daughter I was without ever checking whether your version of me was real. She picks up her bag. She looks at her father, who is not yet able to look at her. The house is safe. I'll keep paying the mortgage until the fraud case is resolved. But we need time before we can talk again. She leaves. Seraphina's car pulling out of Finch Lane. The porch light of her parents' home visible in the rearview mirror. Getting smaller. I didn't leave because I was done with them. I left because I needed them to sit inside the truth for a while. Some realizations need quiet to take root. I had given them enough already. The rest was theirs to carry. Plea agreement. 3.5 years. Full restitution of $157,000 plus fees. Permanent fraud conviction. His sales career is finished. No company in his industry will touch a financial fraud conviction. Clara does not stand by him. She files for divorce within 4 months. She is not vindictive, she is practical, which in its own way is sadder. The house goes on the market. This is the part Seraphina speaks about with the most care. She sets up educational accounts for both children. $30,000 each, untouchable until they are 18. She sends Clara a letter explaining this directly, with one condition. She is not doing it for Emmett. She is doing it because children should not pay for what adults broke. Clara, calling to acknowledge the accounts. Clara? You didn't have to do this. Seraphina. I know. It's for them. A silence. Clara. I'm sorry for what I said at dinner. Over the years. Seraphina. I know. She does not say more than that. It is enough. The fraud case is resolved with the bank within 9 months. Because neither Harlan nor Lydia authorized the loans, they are not liable. The property lien is cleared. The house remains theirs. Lydia calls Seraphina weekly for 3 months. Seraphina answers sometimes. She is not punishing her mother. She simply needs the distance to be real before the closeness can mean anything. Harlan sends a letter. Handwritten. For pages. Seraphina reads it twice, folds it, and puts it in the folder alongside the bank statements. It belongs in there. I've been trying to find the right words for weeks. I don't think I have them. What I know is this: you were never selfish. You were the most quietly devoted person in this family, and we looked right past you because we didn't know how to see what you were doing. I am ashamed of that. I am more ashamed that it took a bank manager and a police detective for your mother and me to understand what you had been carrying. I love you, Seraphina. I'm sorry it took me so long to say it in a way that was worth anything. She buys a house. A craftsman bungalow in a quiet part of the city, close enough to a park that she can walk there in the morning. She pays cash. She is 34. She plants a garden. She is very bad at it. She keeps trying. Seraphina on her back porch, hands in garden soil, slightly frustrated, slightly laughing at herself. Deborah sitting on the step watching with a cup of tea. Deborah. You know you killed that plant, right? Seraphina. I know. I'm going to try again. Deborah. Is that a metaphor? Seraphina, brushing dirt from her hands. Everything is a metaphor when you've been through what I've been through. The revenge part of this story is not the arrest. It's the house, the garden, the mortgage paid off, the letter in the folder. The fact that I kept going, not for them, not to prove anything. Just because I am the kind of person who keeps going. That is what Emmett never understood about me. That is what they all missed. Seraphina drives back to Finch Lane on a Sunday in June. She does not bring a dish to pass. She does not arrive with the children's educational account papers or a document folder. She arrives with nothing except herself. Harlan opens the door. He looks older and more real than she remembers. Stripped of the gentle defensiveness he always carried around Emmett. He steps back to let her in. He says simply, "Thank you for coming." The 3 of them. Coffee and plain biscuits. No performance. The television is off. Lydia does not mention Emmett. Harlan does not make excuses. They talk about small things first. Seraphina's garden. The neighbor's new dog. The library book Lydia is reading. Then they talk about real things. Lydia, holding her cup with both hands. I've been going over it. Every dinner. Every comment. Every time I said those things. Seraphina. Mom, you don't have to list them. Lydia. I want to. I want you to know that I know. Seraphina. Okay. Lydia. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. Seraphina. It's a start. The same walk he made at Lydia's birthday years ago. The same driveway. Different everything else. Harlan. Your brother wrote to us from the facility. He asked about you. Seraphina. What did he say? Harlan. He said he was sorry. That he'd been jealous of you for years. That he didn't know how to want what you had. So he decided to want what you had by taking it. Seraphina quietly. That's the most honest thing he's ever said. Harlan. Will you write to him? Seraphina. Not yet. Maybe someday. Harlan nods. They stand in the driveway for a moment. Harlan. I'm proud of you, Seraphina. I should have said it so many more times. She does not cry. She has already cried about this alone, in her car outside Deborah's house on a night 6 months ago when everything finally came apart at the seams. Right now she just receives it, files it somewhere important. The relationship that is rebuilt is not the relationship she wanted as a child. It is smaller and more honest. Once a month. Real conversations. Lydia asks about her work. Harlan tends to call midweek now just to check in, just to talk. There are long pauses in those calls, but they are different pauses, the kind where two people are simply present together rather than performing something. The mortgage is paid off the following spring. Harlan calls to tell her. His voice strange and full. Harlan. The bank sent a letter. It's paid. The house is ours. Seraphina. I know, Dad. I was tracking it. A long pause. Harlan. You never stopped, did you? Even after everything. Seraphina. It was never about what you deserved, Dad. It was about what I wanted to be. Seraphina, direct to the audience. Her apartment, now her house. The garden visible through the window, scrappy and imperfect and growing. She speaks slowly. She is not performing a lesson. She is simply telling the truth. People ask me if it was worth it. The 7 years of silence. The payments. The endurance. I tell them. The payments were never the sacrifice. The sacrifice was staying in my own quiet way, when everything in me wanted to be seen. The sacrifice was choosing to love without conditions in a family that had placed conditions on everything. What I got in return was not what I expected. I didn't get the family I needed when I was 20. I got something more fragile and more real, a family that finally knows who I actually am. And I got myself. Whole. Intact. Built by my own hands. Emmett thought he was the one who had everything. He had a performance. I had a foundation. When the ground shifted, we found out quickly which one of those things holds. Seraphina's hand. Pressing a seed into garden soil. Patient. Deliberate. Certain it will grow. They called me selfish until the truth came out. Now they call me. And I answer not because I have to. Because I choose to. That is the only kind of family worth having. The one you choose every time with open eyes.